What's the hardest thing for a UK expat who repatriates? That's going to be the topic of today's video. Now, before watching this video, check out my content at infuriated.com, especially if you're an expat or a high net wealth individual. Now, on today's video, I'm going to talk about the hardest things from the perspective of a UK person who repatriates to the UK. Now, I haven't repatriated yet. I've been living overseas for 10 years. But last year, I did spend some time in the UK, and it got me thinking about what are the hardest things for a British person who's lived overseas for a long time if they come back to the UK full time, because I was just back for a few weeks on a couple of trips. So number one, it sounds really strange, but air conditioning, right? When you're in Asia or the Middle East or many parts of the world, you get used to using air conditioning when things get too hot. But people forget that the UK gets pretty hot in the summer, not every day, but 10 or 20 days. It can get up to 35, even 38 was recorded 1 or 2 years ago. And most people don't have air conditioning. And you open up the windows and then flies come in and whatever, and the air outside is just as hot as inside. So I can remember last year I was in London, a really hot day in the summer, and you're just not used to it if you've been overseas for a long period of time. Number two is taxes, right? Especially if you're earning a decent amount of money, the taxes in the UK are high if you include the indirect taxes and the direct taxes. Number three would be the culture, right? If you're in London, you can maybe get into that expat circle and meet many returnees, but many people I know who have returned to the UK to a normal town, often they find there's a little bit of a discrepancy because a lot of the people just can't understand why they wanted to live overseas for so long, because often they don't know any better, right? Just like anywhere in the world. I was talking to one of my friends who I used to work with a long time ago, and he says he really misses life overseas, but when he tells people back home, they just can't understand it because they just go overseas, right, to take a holiday. So I think that's another thing which is a culture shock, as is maybe sometimes the work culture, because a lot of things have changed in the UK over the last 10 or 20 years, but that's less the case, I think, for people who are working from home. How can I help you? In two ways. First of all, are you an expat, a high net wealth individual, or just somebody who lives in a part of the world where it's difficult to get access to quality investment solutions? In which case, go onto my website on infuriated.com and find out more. If you don't fit into any of those categories, then in which case there's a range of free material on my website, on this YouTube channel, and indeed on my Quora, where I get over 200 or have received over 231 million views in the last few years. And finally, if you want to actually read my thoughts in more detail, go onto Amazon and find my book on there.